I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Okay. Thank you, Gerida and WHTC. Okay, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, February 1st, and the time is 8 o'clock. And my name is Counselor Carol Anderson Blanks. Welcome to the West Hartford Public Safety Committee meeting. This committee meeting will be available for live viewing on the WHCI YouTube channel, and this is a virtual meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order. And before we begin, I would ask everyone to pause for a moment of silence for the recent tragic event for Tyre Nichols, who will be buried today. So if we can just pause for the moment in his remembrance. Thank you. These things are happening far too often, whether it's police involved or just gun violence. There's so much work for all of us to do collectively to address a number of issues. It would appear in 2023 that we would be discussing other things in terms of education, training, and how we can continuously improve. But instead, it seems like these things are happening more and more as a reminder that we just have so much more work to do, even though we've done so much work already. So, business items 2A, it has been brought to my attention that the meeting minutes that were posted were not the correct minutes. So we will receive those minutes for January next month. So next month we'll have January and both February minutes that we will approve. Okay. Any questions? No. Thank you. We will move into communications, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Town Manager Rick Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate your moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting. I just wanted to just take a second just to thank the chief and our mayor for their leadership over the weekend, issuing the statement condemning the actions of the individuals who took the life of Tyre Nichols. So just wanted to open up with a thanks to both of them for their leadership. And outside of that, no further communications, and back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. And then before I continue, I just want to recognize those who are in the virtual meeting with us this morning, which is Chief Riddick, Chief Priest, and his assistant. We have AC Rickabon, and we have Counselor Poland, we have Counselor Davidoff, Mr. Petrella, and we have Counselor Zdanowicz. Are you on?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Zdanowicz and Mayor Cantor. I don't think I've missed anybody else. Okay. All right. So we will continue on to staff reports, and we will have our fire department update first. So I'll turn it over to Chief Priest and his team.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members, and everyone out there today. I would just start first. I won't go long, but obviously condemning the acts in Memphis and offering our support to our brothers and sisters in blue who are undoubtedly reeling from that, as well as our nation and community. So I'll reserve further comment, knowing that I'm sure my partner, Chief Riddick, will handle more of that commentary, but didn't want to get going without that. I'd also like to recognize Counselor Davidoff's new career opportunities. We're going to miss you, sir, but look forward to you in your new role. I get to see you at staff meetings now. You get to see me more in person. Looking forward to that. And then going into our fire department report, I've submitted a written Greg Priest report, 8 pages long, prepared by my staff. Just wanted everybody to know that, but look at the head shaking out there. I appreciate you all. We try to put our information there. A few highlights for you. I'd like to start with things that are great for our membership, which is our IAFF local peer support team has worked incredibly hard to get a support dog, which is modeled after the Bristol Fire Department model. The dog's name will be Lola, coming in several weeks, but that took a lot of effort on behalf of our peer support team, working through risk and gently supported by the fire department. That's really going to be an incredible initiative to support our folks with the challenges of this profession. We've also added in a spiritual advisor program, again, shepherded and started by our peer support program, which offers, his name is Father George. He'll be joining us. It's just another option for how we support members, with thanks to Chief O'Callahan for a lot of work to help navigate that. We continue with a lot of our community outreach. We've done some news segments. We did a CPR program for our retirees, and we're pretty pleased. We've received our Heart Safe Community Certificate that we talked about. Looks like my camera's not picking it up too well, but the certificate is here. Very pleased to see that happening. Results of a lot of work of our staff. And we would offer to the town council, anytime you'd like to do some hands-only CPR, we'd be glad to come before one of your council meetings and help out with that. Our Office of Emergency Management, Bob is here. Our owl camera hasn't quite picked him up yet. Maybe if he moves, it'll pan that direction. But he's been working incredibly hard on helping to prepare our community in the area of emergency generators, working with facilities. We have about a $4 million grant that's in there. So we're pretty excited about that. And Chief O'Callahan will be working on some other grants for our operations division. We're working on our active shooter hostile events preparedness this month under the guidance of our training division EMS officer and Chief Bassett. We were able to do a class on tactical emergency casualty care. 9 members were trained. It'll be a train the trainer type program. So we're improving our medicine. We've also been working as a department, and as the chief, I've been working on the legislative front to advance some fire service legislative initiatives and supporting the Public Safety Committee's intention to try and improve the state efforts for recruiting and retention of fire personnel. On the local front, we've been very engaged with our school district lately. Very pleased to see them coming out to some meetings and starting to get behind a vision where we can offer some either certification programs, entry-level programs, or things to engage our youth to bring them into the fire service and other public safety programs. And we certainly have a vision that we're working towards. We finalized our budget, had our hearing the other day. We really look forward to engaging with our council, both the Public Safety Committee members and the larger council. And obviously, we all have needs. Our emphasis here will be in our fire marshal's office, as well as continuing to support our outreach programs. Look forward to discussing that more during the budget process. And while there's lots of people to thank anytime I come up here, I'd like to make a quick shout out to a company by the name of Airco, who manufactured a boiler at our Station 5. We struggled with some challenges with that, and they actually stepped up and replaced an 8-year-old boiler after 8 years of it being in service. So working collaboratively with facilities, I'm very happy that we now have reliable heat in Station 5. And last is to our preceptors. As I was just finalizing for this, I've recognized that our employees tend to, when we lose folks, it happens to be in the area where they're not successfully passing field training. And I can't recall the last employee. It's been quite some time, over a year, where we've lost somebody in that precepting phase. So that's a kudos to not only the quality of the employee that we're getting, but it's a kudos to our trainers who are out there navigating them through their onboarding. So with that, I will conclude my report and stand by for any questions you may have of me.
Thank you, Chief Priest. Are there any questions for the chief? Councilor Davidoff?
Good morning. Thank you, Chairwoman Blanks. So this morning I did wake up to read the article that was written by Ronnie Newton of WEHA about Captain Gary Hill's tenure with the West Hartford Fire Department. And it was very informative. It was educational. It gave an insight into something that I was not that aware of, but am more enlightened. And it definitely was a positive, reflective perspective as to where the department was, where it went during his tenure on the department, and where it ended up when he retired. And I think one of the highlights of the article was the interaction that he has with the Chiefs, and some enlightenment as to how the paramedic program has impacted our ability to attract candidates. These were very helpful insights for somebody who's been on the council for a while, and heard basically firsthand from somebody who was living the experience, but has left our employment with the willingness to come back if necessary, to help recruit candidates, tell them that West Hartford Fire it is a really great place to have a career. He did have an interesting suggestion about a cadet program. I thought that was an interesting suggestion that we probably have never spoken about since I've been sitting around here. But it provided a lot of insight as to from an employee's perspective, and especially from an employee's perspective who is Black. And it really spoke to the changes, positive, that our department has taken over decades to be the department that it is. And he's proud of his service to the town. He rose all the way to the rank of captain, which is pretty admirable in that respect. And it talked about his struggles and things of that nature. So if you get an opportunity, I would encourage my colleagues on the council to read the article. It was very well written, and knowing Ronnie Newton, I believe it's to be accurate. And I think it was a story that needed to be told, and I just wanted to share that with everyone this morning. So I don't know, I just don't know if the chief wants to offer any further comments, but I thought your comments, as I know you to be, sir, to be spot on, honest, and direct, and that's all I was able to glean from that article. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davidoff. Chief, would you care to add?
Yeah, I would love to, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I've had an opportunity to review the article, and through my lens, I thought it was well done as well. But I would start with saying we've done some good things, but we have work to do. Anything that we have to do and talk about in this space, really warrants that deeper dive. Because I'd love to be able to explain the position that we're in, that we were in, and how we will continue to proceed moving forward into the future. But certainly, we've recognized not only nationally but locally, that the composition of our workforce, specifically around female and people of color, has been challenged. But in terms of specific to West Hartford, when Chief O'Callahan and I arrived, we knew what the problem was. We knew that there was an issue, and what we've done is we've systematically moved through to try and look at the barriers that have to diversify our workforce, and then we've taken specific action steps to doing that. We've looked at some of our numbers. It looks like in about 2019, we were about 13% diversity, and our recent numbers show that we're about 21%. So like I said, great, it's a number on a piece of paper. I'm proud of it, but there's so much more to be done in that space, and things like cadet programs and high school programs are certainly a way of accomplishing that. And lastly, as I kind of close out my remarks on that, we have experts here in town. We have wonderful people inside of our department who are working on this, who we've engaged. We want their input, like Captain Hill, Deputy Fire Marshal Adele, any of the other folks inside of this organization, our newer members who are engaged, Luis Enriquez. We're so proud of these folks and want their input, and we want to move forward with it. And then lastly, we use our other experts, Rosanna's position, the Office of Equity Advancement. We've had numerous conversations over there with Adrian and Rosanna. So work to be done, pleased with where we are, and glad to take this into, an even deeper dive, even if it's not a public safety committee meeting, if it's somewhere else and we wanted to go into it. But thank you, Counselor. I appreciate the opportunity to respond to you.
Looks like our Madam Chair might be having some technical difficulty. So only thing through the mat. Oh, she's back. Okay.
Sorry, my screen froze. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Chief Priest. I didn't hear the rest of what you said, but that's fine. Thank you. And I want to apologize because I didn't recognize AC O'Callahan, and I know that Fire Marshal Grimaldi has joined us as well. Okay. I do have a few questions for you, Chief Priest. I'm happy to hear you discussed about going out and recruiting, especially folks or people who normally wouldn't, look at fire as a career or joining the department. Just different backgrounds of folks, Black and brown. But I'm also interested as you go out and you either talk to young people, you're going into the high schools, how many females are, I guess, being attracted or are showing up when your staff goes out?
I'm going to let Chief O'Callahan handle that one. He runs most of the outreach programs and speaks directly with the staff that are out there. So maybe have a better shot.
I'm just curious to learn as you go out, are you finding that more and more females are showing up, or is it still kind of far and few in between?
No, absolutely. We're seeing an increase in our numbers that are applying, females that are applying to the department. And that's basically through our outreach. And what we've done is we've put aside the questions that come from females specifically to say, okay, so if a few people have these questions here in this classroom, we should present those to the next classroom and the next classroom. And we just build upon that. So that way we can put people's minds at ease. And some of the questions that come up are there sleeping quarters that are suitable for women, or resting quarters? That's a great question because of privacy. Are there separate bathrooms in the stations? Those questions come up because this is where we live for 24 hours. And I wouldn't look at it like that as a firefighter, as a male, because I've just come up through the organization, as I have. But these are great questions that we get, and we use them to build upon our presentations so that we can put people's minds at ease and it becomes more inclusive.
So along with that, certainly we couldn't be happier with our female members. We have 9 outstanding ladies that are inside of our department. Proud of what that looks like in terms of what our peer departments are. But I really go back to it's the quality of the candidate. We didn't reduce any of our standards to bring these folks on. They're outstanding people that we look at as complete peers. They do the exact same job. I know that Chief Riddick probably has the same feelings, right? There's no difference in what we do, regardless of the color of our skin or what gender we choose to be, or that we are assigned. So with that, I mean, I'll just touch on this quickly. If you're paying attention, there was some very significant recent legislative movements towards reducing some of the standards towards female firefighters who are entering the CPAT or candidate physical agility test. That it's a very public issue, but I'll give you just very brief because I know it may came up. But the issue is first of all, we want to recognize, celebrate the women that we have on our department right now who have met and attained that standard. They do excellent work. We acknowledge the weakness in the fact that the composition of the fire service, has a statistically lower rate of females, and we need to do a better job of not only attracting them, but helping them meet the standard that's a national standard. But inside of a weakness is every opportunity, right? This is our chance to take as a state and try and provide more access to CPAP facilities, to reduce the cost, to give them opportunities to practice. And when I say they, I mean everybody who wants to join the fire service, whatever background they may be. So that's where we've been placing a lot of emphasis right now at the state level, the state kind of efforts. Again, just an acknowledgement to Chief O'Callahan. He's filling in a lot of things here in the department while I'm trying to get some of the state stuff moved along. And I hope that there's that return on investment for West Hartford, because increased access to CPAP facilities and really furthering these kind of type of movements in the fire service will benefit us all. So that's what I have. I appreciate it. Oh, one quick nod to females and opportunities to come into the public safety realm would be just a shout out to Bob McHugh's Teen Cert program, which is also bringing, we had several females go through that, folks, persons of color, and then they've also chose to leave that program. They started with emergency management, but then have come to us and are starting to ride with us, starting to pick up an interest in the paramedic aspect. So as you can tell by my interest in talking about this ad nauseum, I'm really passionate about it. I think we're doing some great work. We have more to do, and don't want to take the rest of this committee meeting to do it, but I'd love to talk with any of you individually collectively about this.
Thank you. And I'm happy to hear that, because that's basically what we want. It sounds like you're building that bench, and it's becoming successful. So thank you to you and your team for recognizing and doing the good work that you do. And I agree with you. It should be the best qualified candidate. And that is the one that is selected to represent the team and represent the town. So thank you for that. One other question I have, and then I'll move on, is on the boiler that you were able to get replaced by communicating very professionally with the manufacturer. Kudos to you for doing that and saving the town a bunch of money. So I wanted to tell you that. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions or comments for the chief and his team? Okay, so then we'll move over to Chief Riddick and his team for a report.
Good morning, everyone. How was my audio? Okay, awesome. First, I'm going to apologize in advance. I might be a little long-winded, so my apologies, but we have a lot of information and a lot of good work that's been done by our officers. First, let me just say thank you to many of you on this screen that reached out to me on behalf of the police department in light of the video that was put out. Madam Chair, Mayor, the town manager, Chief Priest, and several others who took the time to reach out over the weekend. Thank you. We appreciate it very, very much. I personally appreciate it. There were several others who reached out too. Respectfully, I really don't have any more comments to say. I'm pretty much talked out on this issue. Was phone blowing up from Friday night, all through Saturday. And, there's sometimes the picture speaks more than any words can possibly convey or speak. So enough said on that. I think we know how ridiculous it is, and we'll let the judicial system and justice system run its course. Secondly, today is the kickoff to Black History Month. And I thought I also want to give kudos to Chief Priest and his team. I read the article, he and I texted, and I think at the end of the day, when you have an individual who was the first and who's retired and who has the freedom to speak unadulterated, and you get an article like that, I think it says a lot about the current administration of the fire department, their direction, their commitment, and the impact that they have made in the attempt to do the right thing for the right reasons. So kudos to them. and that I enjoyed the article. And I didn't know he was the first, so I feel a little bad that I never had a chance to really have a conversation, with the captain. So these are the things that, that slip, quote unquote, slip through the cracks. So I missed that opportunity, but I'm sure I can make it up in the future personally, so for my personal feelings. As many of you know, I'd mentioned this a couple of years ago. I had the opportunity to speak with Elijah Suber from the West Hartford Police Department, who was the first Black police officer for our town. I did meet with him and his lovely wife at their residence, had some coffee, chopped it up. Um, he had a little different story to tell. He loved this PD. He loved the town. He had more significant challenges that he went through, but even in retirement, he said he wouldn't change his experience because he grew from it. Of course, he wished there were more diversity, but you know, he went through some very tough times, and he kept the high road. So, unfortunately, he has passed away about a year or so ago, and I will be reaching out. I did have a conversation previously with Ronnie regarding writing an article on him. And after reading the Captain Hill's article, I think it would be a good testament and a tribute to Elijah. My regret is that he's not here to be part of it and to be interviewed and to hear what he really had to say. Maybe he would have shared some of the things publicly that he shared with me privately. Back to Captain Hill, being an individual that has been unfortunately / fortunately the first many times, there is a responsibility that goes along with that. There's a pressure, external and internal, that goes with that. But at the end of the day, you should strive, and most of us who are the first, we strive for excellence and to do our best every single day. And, an individual had a conversation with me, and I've heard this on talk shows in the past. Why is it a big deal where we have to keep mentioning the first in our modern day world, in our modern day country? And my response to that, privately and on some of these shows, is like, well, the goal is that you wouldn't have to mention the first. If we were still having first, that tells you there's a problem in today's world, that we're still having first, especially in professions where it really shouldn't be the case. So you don't dwell upon it, you just acknowledge it, and you continue to go forward. And for most of us who are the first, I know personally, and for those who have walked in my shoes also, and the shoes that I've walked into, is you don't want it to be the first and only. So we keep that in mind, and you just keep going forward. So thank you, Chief Priest, and for what you were doing over there in the town of West Hartford, for what you were doing. And I think I have shared this privately, but I will share it publicly if I haven't done it before. When I applied for this job back in early 2018, there were some that told me they would never hire a Black person here to run their police department. Once I arrived here, I met with elderly people, Black men and female, one female in particular. Actually, it was the latter part of 2022, with tears in her eyes, saying that she would never thought she'd live to see the day and see a person of color sit in the seat that I currently sit in. If you think there's not impact for people being in these positions and striving for excellence and just trying to do your best, and the impact is definitely legitimate, it's real, and it's significant. So I thank West Hartford for giving me the opportunity and just hiring me, I believe, on qualifications, experience, and ability. And so kudos to West Hartford. A couple other things, and for the benefit, I know we have a couple new members to our Public Safety Committee and whoever else is here. So I will do this because we are in Black History, just to share a few things that I am part of, because you might not know this. I am the Vice President of the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association, one of, I think, 3 or 4 others. I also chair, I'm on Post Council, and I also chair the Social Justice Subcommittee. Currently, right now, we are looking into the training practices and curriculum that Post provides. We have two subcommittees off of that, one dealing with the training component and one dealing with the background. How are we conducting our backgrounds? We need some consistency because there really is no standard for the states. We're looking to streamline that and to root out to the best that we possibly can biases and bad apples that might slip through the crack. That's an arduous task. We've been at this for about over a year, and we hope to produce a written document within the next 3 months. So I'll keep you updated on that. Also, on the CPCA side, I am also on the legislative committee. So we review the bills. We go before to the Capitol. We testify. We do a lot of things behind the scene. I am also the president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives for the state of Connecticut. And again, when you take these positions, you just don't. Part of being a chief, and Chief Priest realizes this too, you can't insulate yourself within just your office. That's why you need good assistant chiefs and deputy chiefs around you to bring a value to your town and to your PD. You got to get out of this office and you have to make relationships. You got to be in the room for the conversations so you don't miss out on the fruits of those conversations and being at the table. So we're doing a lot, and I really appreciate Assistant Chief Tara and Rickaban for assisting me and for dedicating themselves to this town. The amount of hours that we put in, like many of you, not on the clock because we're salary, and I know the town manager has had a whole new revelation as to what a lot of what we do in his new position right now. It really is every single day. It just is. We're not complaining. We stepped up for this. That's what we decided to do. We get it. But there's not a weekend I don't talk to Assistant Chief Rickaban and Tara, whether text, conversation, whatever. Every single weekend. It's just what it is. But we're committed and we're dedicated to do the right things for the right reasons. Our spouses might not be happy with us, but I hope that you, I hope that you are. That being said, again, I did warn you guys I might be a little long-winded this morning. I also want to thank our HR and the town manager and just the town. Our attrition rate over the last 5 years, again, I got here in 2018, we've been losing about 11.2 officers on average every single year. That's resignations, that's retirements, whatever the case is. However, we've been able to hire at a rate of 12.8%, hires over those same 5 years. So that's really, really good. And we're staying just above the rate of attrition, which is important. Currently, we have 5 vacancies. We have seen it appears to be an increase in people just leaving the profession and doing other things. A couple of our people who resigned, one went down south and is totally out of the profession. Another officer whose resignation was effective tomorrow has decided just to leave policing and do something else. I think it's going to be trucking. And, sometimes people just feel it's not for them anymore. But to have a town that supports us and provide the resources so that we can replenish the ranks is extremely important. Pistol permits. Let me make sure I check and miss anything else here in my notes. All right, got it. Pistol permits. In January of 2022, we had 8 permits, and January of 2023, we have 15, and that breakdown is 14 men and 1 woman. Notable recent police activities, and our officers are really doing a really good job. So it's been a crazy couple months, even for us here in West Hartford. In January of 29th, we had about 5:02 p.m. Officer Barriere did a motor vehicle stop for a misuse, and during that misuse, he saw a bullet out of the corner of his eye on the floor, which led to a search. Long story short, Nehemiah Lewis 22 of Hartford was arrested and charged with carrying a pistol without a permit. To search the vehicle, we found a pistol, improper storage of the pistol, a revolver in a motor vehicle, operating an unregistered motor vehicle, illegal possession of a high-capacity magazine, illegal operation of motor vehicle without a license, and misuse of plates. His bond was $100,000. On January 27th, another motor vehicle stop. Officers Camero and Pete did a motor vehicle stop for a moving violation. After doing that, an investigation, Officer Camero is a K-9 officer who hit on narcotics inside the vehicle. And another search of the vehicle, we had a loaded handgun, packaging and scales for sale. And Sergio Cruz of Bridgeport, Connecticut was arrested and charged with failure to drive right, criminal possession of a firearm, illegal possession of a high-capacity magazine, illegal possession of a weapon and motor vehicle, and sale of a controlled substance. He had a bond of $250,000, which he posted. On January 19th, Officer Shimo conducted a motor vehicle stop of a stolen motor vehicle. The operator ran, and after a short foot pursuit, Officer Shimo and a couple other officers were able to catch the individual and arrest him. The juvenile operator was charged with theft of a motor vehicle, criminal trover in the first degree. And what criminal trover means, in the commission of stealing a motor vehicle, you damage the vehicle. That's a trover charge. And interfering with an officer and possession of burglary tools. On January 14th, as you know, we have several flock cameras that are out there. We had a flock hit on a vehicle that was connected with numerous fraudulent transactions throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts. During the search of the area, we were able to locate the vehicle at the mall. We set up a surveillance team on the car to see who came out, and the individual did come out. We converged on him. Another quick, brief foot pursuit, minor injuries, but we were able to arrest Desmond Bond, who had 21 active felony arrest warrants between Connecticut and Massachusetts. And the Department of Corrections and Parole Fugitive Unit came out and issued a remand to custody for him. The other individual, Rondell, was also charged with counterfeit currency, and Rondell Jackson resided in Middletown. Officer Camero, again, on January 6th, there was a carjacking. You might have saw the news release on this that occurred at Yukon, an armed carjacking with a handgun, and from a student up at Yukon. The car was found on New Park. He noticed it from the teletype. He called it in. There was a pursuit that ensued from West Hartford into Hartford. A couple of vehicles. Hartford also got involved with that. Long story short, there was a couple of crashes along the way, but nobody was seriously injured. So with our personnel and Hartford PD, we were able to make an arrest. And Jaden Roberts was arrested for weapons and actually, I forgot, let me back up. He also, we found out subsequently, we didn't know this, so the car was wanted for the armed carjacking. After he was arrested, and it was Hartford's arrest, he had also fired a firearm at his girlfriend early that morning that we found out. So very violent individual that we were fortunate to get off the street. So we had misdemeanor charges on him, and Hartford took the felony charges because it was their incidents that occurred with the shooting and then the other incident that occurred at Yukon. So a lot of good work that was done by our officers, continue to go forward to do what they can to keep our town safe. So I commend them for their dedication, their commitment, and their work. And again, I want to just thank the town for supporting us. And in closing, big thanks to the town manager and the mayor for allocating money for our simulator. We have started construction here for our de-escalation simulator force that we're going to be setting up, and we're going to have a nice press release and everything else once it's done. A lot of remediation, and construction, a lot of noise here at the building. But once this thing gets set up, it'll be really good. It will help our officers to differentiate when and when not to use force and just to help train them. There will be an invitation to all members of town council and actually any director who wants to come in once this is set up. If you want to run through a few scenarios, you'll be able to do that. So that ends my very long and chief priest-like report, but I think it was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Riddick, and I would agree. Are there any questions or comments for the chief? Okay. Okay. Chief, I had a question, just in terms of reading the report, and it seems like we're just in February and there's a lot of activity that's happening with the PD and catching these people who are breaking the law, and then turns out that they're violent and just have all type of illegal um, items on them. So just again, it goes back to that training that we're already always discussing, and also more importantly, making sure that our officers stay safe, especially when they engage with these violent people who are breaking the law. I'm also happy to hear that we continue the collaborative efforts with our neighboring towns and cities. And I know that regional task force that our PD members are on is also very important and needed. But my question is, and I know I always go to this pattern question because it seems like these violent offenders are young. I mean, 22 years old. My youngest daughters are 23, and I'm wondering, and it appears so, that they have these criminal histories, if you will, and they're just 22. Are there like, I don't know, patterns in terms of, I know the incident that occurred at West Farms, they also had some outstanding warrants also in Massachusetts and some other places. Um, any rationale why we're seeing these things, or it's just regular old police work?
Um, yeah, there's some rationale, but I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say it publicly. There's some things that on the legislative committee that we're trying to work on. One is not to have to raise the age is one thing. I mean, a lot of these crimes, I think the age is between about 22 and 36. You mentioned the 22-year-old, and I'm not saying it's the case with him, but understand a lot of these repeat offenders, their juvenile cases are sealed. So many of these people who are committing crimes at, 21, 22, 23, 24, they didn't just start then. There's a whole juvenile part of this that we can't even see unless it's something that occurred within our town. So, that's part of the problem too. And I think the most significant portion of this, and I've said this repeatedly, and every single time we've had this conversation, it starts in the home. And whether there's parents in the home or not, there has to be surrogates, and there has to be that whole village mentality. And it's uncomfortable conversations, and some people don't like to hear it, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. That's the truth. Why are these juveniles, many of them out 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, running to their houses and trying to open up cars? You've all seen the videos. We've all seen it all over the news, shooting at people. I know I was not allowed to do that at that age. My father would kill me, literally. So, but I also recognize you have to understand that everyone doesn't have a parent inside the house. And we have to do things and put in procedures, policies, facilities, assistance to supplement those holes and those deficiencies. So it's a myriad of things, nothing new under the sun. Many of these things were acknowledged way back, I think it was 68 or 69, the Kerner Commission report. For those who had a chance to read that. If you go to the executive summary, it lists out some things, and it really starts at the home of providing education and training and everything else at the home, and then within the schools, and then going forward. So I hope I didn't blab on too long, but it's a myriad of things. It's rarely just one.
Thank you, Chief Riddick. I would agree. It really does start in the home with parents or guardians. And I don't know, it just seems like each year it gets worse and worse, and the offender gets younger and younger. And, I might be out of line in saying this. I don't know if policies need to begin to address holding parents or guardians accountable in some way or in some fashion or form, if that would have any type of impact on reducing some of these crimes, at least addressing them early on and preventing crimes from being much more serious and having a 22-year-old life just snuffed out and because of some immaturity or not receiving um, um, guidance that's needed in terms of right from wrong. Because the more these things happen, it's almost like the values are twisted. They think the wrong is the right, and they don't even know what right means anymore. And innocent people are being harmed, being maimed, and being killed. And it's a whole ripple effect on how it affects families and other things. So thank you, and thank you to the team and the rank and file for their work, because I always say, they got to watch their backs out there, because it's dangerous every time they step out and do the work of protecting the town, the businesses, and themselves. So thank you again for all the work that you do. And over to Chief Priest. Um, Chief Priest, I did want to take you up on your offer of coming before the council, something that I'd like to discuss with the mayor, but also take it a step further in terms of CPR training. I've had CPR training when I was a respiratory therapist, but I've had not had that since. So I think that might be a good idea, especially during these times in terms of what we've been seeing and what we've been experiencing. I don't think that would be a bad thing for all of us to undergo. So just something for you to keep in mind. Okay, I'll move to the next agenda item, which is future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they think they would like to address or discuss, or something for the town manager to look into at this time? Chief Riddick?
My apologies, Madam Chair. There's one statistic I failed to provide, and I think it's very important, especially given the motor vehicle accidents and the deaths that have occurred. So my apologies on this. Last year in 2022, for the month of January, the West Hartford Police Department conducted 198 vehicle stops, motor vehicle stops. January of 2023, that is now 605 vehicle stops. So again, a testament to the work and the focus to our personnel getting out there and addressing, the driving behavior that's pervasive statewide and nationwide. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Riddick, for also bringing that up, because I'm gonna probably talk to you after, but I've also seen some radical driving in town lately, where people have just become emboldened, so they don't want to be patient and drive behind you, so they just cut you off and like cut you off on the right and then turn around and cut you off on the left, only to stop 100 feet ahead at the red light. So I don't know where everyone is in a hurry to, only to have to stop and wait. and if everyone's not paying attention and on their P's and Q's, that can just be an accident waiting. So thank you for providing that. So since I don't see anyone who has any agenda items, I too just want to echo that February is Black History Month. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. Counselor Zdanowicz, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It was just on, you guys were talking about the traffic, not necessarily an agenda item, but I had a phone call yesterday and I happen to travel this route quite often, and I've noticed it too, but a constituent called and said that the traffic light at the corner of Hunter and Mountain has been notorious for running lights. And I know this is probably all over town, Chief, but I hadn't received a call regarding this specific topic, and I just thought I'd bring it up today for your edification. So thank you.
Thank you, received, and Assistant Chief Tara is writing it down. Traffic falls under him, and we'll be out there.
Thank you, Counselor Zdanowicz and Counselor Davidoff.
Thank you, Chairwoman Blanks. Barring any need for a special meeting between now and the end of February of this committee, and I don't think there is, because in the past several years there really has not been a need to have one. So I would hope that pattern would continue. I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the members of both the fire, police, and other public safety first responders for their professionalism, their commitment and dedication to this community. During my tenure on the council, I've been a huge supporter of our public safety services, from training, recruitment, to whatever's necessary to get the job done, to in my opinion, to provide the most important service to the residents of West Hartford, and that's to protect and to serve our community. So I've always considered everybody present at this meeting to display the utmost professionalism. All of my conversations and dialogues, whether they be spoken or written, have always been at the utmost honest level. And what I take great pride in is the recognition of individuals' personal achievements, as well as group achievements, as well as those in our community. Special recognition of members of our community who assist the department and are recognized for those efforts. It's really important to do the job, but it's also really good to say thank you. So in that vein, it's important for me to say thank you to all the support that you have provided me. I would not be as knowledgeable or concerned or able to provide a perspective at the council table all these years without the support, guidance, education that you've all provided me throughout the years. And for that, I am forever grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Davidoff. What I was going to say was February is Black History Month, and the town of West Hartford certainly has a lot of celebration and celebrating, because we have a number of firsts. And myself, in terms of coming from Hartford, being born and raised, I remember the town of West Hartford 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. And wow, what a transformation from then to now. And so I think we don't even have to go outside of our town. We have a lot of celebrating to do and a lot of commendment that this town has done in terms of transforming town staff, district staff, and other what do I want to say? Big celebratory events in town that has happened where it did not happen many, many years ago for whatever reason. But we're not looking backward, we're looking forward. And I think that we have a lot of things that we can stand proud of and say, you know what, we did that. That's why West Hartford continues to be a leader. That's why we continue to forge ahead. And continue to improve. We never sit on our laurels. We always look and see where we can make things better, and that's what we do. So again, thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Thank you, Chief Priest, and thank you, Chief Riddick, and for your entire team for looking at different ways and saying, how can we improve and make it better? So with that said, I will adjourn. It's 8:55. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week and continue to watch each other's back. Take care.
Have a good day, everyone.
Chair, we'll see you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you. Whew.